A lot of gratitude and appreciation for this guy right here, Mr. David Lecko, man, who probably needs little to zero introduction for anybody that's listening to the show. Most of you guys probably have Deal Machine. If not, you've heard of it. You're trying to drive for dollars. The man, the myth, the legend, David, my man, what's going on?
Absolutely. Thanks, Carlos. And thank you so much for having me on this podcast. A lot of gratitude from me as well. And it's good to see that you're alive in quarantine. I've really missed seeing you at certain CG events, etc. So this is nice. We should have done this
Yeah,
sooner.
I know we definitely should have done it sooner. And I appreciate before we started recording, first thing, you're like, how's quarantine life? How's your personal? How's everything? So that was good to catch up with you there. But I'm glad to have you on at this particular time because there's definitely some interesting developments, vision going on with Deal Machine, but also just kind of want to get a breakdown on you, the person, what makes you successful. Young guy having a lot of success both with real estate and the software side of things. We have a lot of overlapping members that are having success both with InvestorFuse and Deal Machine doing driving for dollars for their lead gen, managing those leads in InvestorFuse. So I know that you'll be able to provide a lot of value and inspiration and insight for folks that are listening to this. So just to kind of kick things off for the small percentage of people that aren't familiar with you and Deal Machine, would love to hear how you got into real estate, any length of your story that you're willing to share for the listeners, and what Deal Machine does for all of its users and members.
Yeah. Yeah. So first of all, me as a person, I've been really into working out daily. I started 4 times a week, moved it for 5, moved it to 6. And I feel like measuring my results weekly for myself is like something that really drives me and makes me successful. Definitely carries into like how I manage my team as well. I was doing like monthly things, and then I changed it to weekly with like metrics we track. And I think it's made everybody like way more on their game. So that's kind of immediately what's coming to mind whenever I hear that question.
Love it.
And Deal Machine helps real estate investors find more deals. Specifically, like if you're buying lists, typically if you really go to scale, that can get very expensive, and the ROI may not scale linearly like you'd hope it would. And if that trails off, we would really encourage you to come check out Deal Machine to build a scalable driving for dollars team. And we can actually give you better leads that you can buy deeper because you're building a list that nobody else can easily buy online. And so that means you're competing less, you're able to get those at a deeper discount and protect your ROI and even increase it, before thinking about going to another market to expand and then dealing with, any inefficiencies in your process that might go along with that. But yeah, and then we've made some shifts at Deal Machine recently too. And we kind of pulled out some key components and created a CRM, which is really great if you don't have a CRM, because you can do basic status management notes, and that connects to your driving for dollars system as well. And then you can now pull lead lists as well as a separate product with List Engine. Happy to go over some details there, but it's basically like 3 separate products that all live in the same app that you can use together or separately.
Awesome. Yeah, well, let's touch on the features. We'll come back to features and specifics on Deal Machine, the product. I want to hear how you got into real estate and why Deal Machine was created. And during that, maybe even taking a step back and explain just on that elementary level what driving for dollars is. Again, for that small minority of folks that aren't familiar.
Yeah, good. So I started in 2016. I got really hyped up about rental property investing after I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I played the cash flow game. I went looking for properties, wrote down a list of about 40 properties after work, 3 weeks time. And then I realized, seeing a property I had on my list that I hadn't followed up with, that I lost out on, somebody else was renovating it. And it was all because I didn't follow up systematically. Didn't convert that lead. So I needed a lead conversion system is kind of really what happened. But specifically with driving for dollars, I was like, I need to pin this property on a map. I need to get the owner's information. I need to send out a mailer immediately so I don't, waste time building my list, but not following up. And so that's how it was born. Early 2017, somebody actually paid me $1,000 at a local RIA to pre-buy like a certain amount of mailers. And at the time the app was free, you just bought mailers through it. And that's when I realized that this should be an actual business. And that's when I went looking for my business partner to take over the majority of the development. And I started going to a few conferences to see who else out there I could serve. And that's how it all started. Back in 2017 is when we formed the business officially.
Mm-hmm. I love that too. From the SaaS side, I can't remember which one this was at, a SaaS Academy event or something along those lines. You had an interesting just growth strategy for DealMachine as well. Just going to events and really just hedging all bets on yourself, going to events, getting on people's emails list. But I think there's a lot of parallels and principles of success that you had growing the SaaS monster, software as a service monster company that investors are going to do with their own, real estate investment companies or the acquisitions like of their companies. Speak to that a little bit of just like the growth of DealMachine and what was successful with that, where you would go back and make some changes potentially, just anything broad stroke around that.
Yep. A lot of well, first of all, I was my own customer, so I was using it actively myself. Yeah. So that drove a lot of the decisions on like, what should we do for this product? I wasn't listening to anyone else but me because I was just like trying to use it. And I was like, oh, this should be easier. I want to do X, Y, Z. So that's where a lot of that came from. And then, yes, I did go to conferences. And I kind of wanted to just put myself where serendipity could happen. I don't think you can ever guarantee, going to this conference is going to give me so much money or measure the ROI directly. But what it allowed me to do was be there when the opportunity was. And I think the same is definitely true for real estate, especially if you're getting started, is if you've never done marketing before, in order to get a deal, like you just have to do marketing and you've got to do it long enough to be there when the opportunity arises. And I think that's like the biggest hurdle for like a new real estate investor that was a lesson that I learned and that paid off ultimately in growing DealMachine.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You never know exactly when you're going to have a breakthrough or an opportunity, but from my perspective as well, it's kind of just a game of putting yourself in the best positions to have those serendipitous moments or meet up with people. So a lot of great stuff there. You brought me to a good point that I kind of want to touch on as far as just driving for dollar strategy, and people listening to this might more so be beginners. Some people may be experienced. But what's kind of like your best advice? Driving for dollars is such a great strategy. As Brent Daniels has said, like that's the best list that you can compile because it's real-time information and data as far as properties that look like they're distressed. And then really it's just a numbers game to a certain extent, which I would let you expand on and do much better than I would. But I would love to hear kind of just a broad stroke as far as what's the best advice beginners could do, and maybe we can break that down to as far as more experienced investors that just want to add driving to dollars as maybe lists they're purchasing from any of the most popular list providers.
Yeah. Well, I think that when you're building a list that somebody can't easily buy online, by definition, you're going to have less competition because it's a bit harder. You can't do it easily. So that's why a huge reason why you're going to get better results. You just can't buy a list of ugly properties online. And doing so has been problematic before because people didn't think it was scalable. They thought it was just a newbie strategy. And I discovered you can scale it very well just as long as you've got the right systems. You don't want to hire the wrong people that become people problems, that don't do their job well, that you've got to chase around trying to make sure they do what their job is. So the key is like having the systems to manage the people, and you'll have a great lead source that's going to be really high ROI. What was the question? I think I lost track of what the question was.
Yeah, I kind of asked long-winded double, triple questions there, but kind of just best advice for beginners, and then more so moving towards probably systems being part of that answer, what more experienced investors are using. And it's awesome too. I was going to say it's awesome too that with the growth of DealMachine, you have such awesome promoters that are, putting out content of them using the app, like everyone from Brent, Max, Dedrick, like all these people that are having success with it. And their Zach Booth, another InvestorFuse guy, that are having so much success and just teaching people how to use the app and what's making them successful. So the original question was more so just like pretty much trying to extract the best advice from you for beginners as one part of the question, and then more so the experienced users and the experienced investors.
Got it. Yeah. So best advice for beginners is go find 300 plus distressed properties if you're in the Midwest. If you're in like Seattle, LA, really high price markets, like add 1,000 really distressed looking homes in your area. Believe me, it's more of an investment, but you get better spreads in those really high markets. So, but you do have to do a little bit more upfront work. Things to look for, really tall grass, peeling paint, stuffed mailbox, tarp on the roof, anything that looks out of place. And my biggest advice for a beginner is not to quit too soon. It's really key to know what goals should you be aiming for that are realistic. I think the biggest pitfall beginners face that I see is they add 20 properties, send out one mailer, and then they give up and say it didn't work. You just have to know what your benchmarks are. So add that number of properties that are distressed, and then you need to repeat contact with them 3 times at a very minimum, at least 3 times over a few months. Any sales advice out there says you've got to follow up 7 to 13 touch points. So really it should be more than 3, but bare minimum 3, and hit those numbers to get a deal.
Love that. And a lot of parallels with the personal life as well, as far as working out, like just being able to set what you measure grows. What's the expression there? What you measure grows, what you measure matters. But I mean, same parallel as working out. Like when you can actually like see results, like do an output for a week, see where you're at as far as, I wanted to get these many deals entered into DealMachine, contact X amount of owners, have a little bit of reflection, see where you're at, and keep the process going. So I love that you have that parallel. And that's kind of what came top of mind for you on some of your answers so far, which is pretty cool.
Yep, absolutely. And then for my advanced people, I think everyone gets leveraging your time. They get that you can buy time by hiring team members to do certain things. I think what people often fall short on is payment structure and what motivates those people that you're hiring. A lot of people, there's 3 main payment structures. The first one, they want to pay when they close a deal, but that's going to fall apart unless it's like your mom or your spouse that really believes in your cause, because it could take 3 months to close a deal. So any driver that you train and recruit, they are not going to continue adding properties for 3 months if you're not paying them. So don't get fooled into thinking, I'm going to have 1,000 drivers out there and I'm just going to pay the ones that bring me a deal that I close. That won't really work. The payments that I do suggest, you need a budget of at least $4,000 a month before you consider this, is to pay by the hour, pay $15 to $20 an hour, recruit Uber drivers that want more consistent pay, but still want the flexibility of working whenever they want. They'll earn a solid dollar amount from you every time they go out to drive, and they're going to stick around because you're paying them consistently, so they can pay their bills. Meanwhile, while you're trying to close their deals, and then people think they also need to give like a huge bonus when they do close a deal. It really doesn't affect performance, so think twice about before you jump in to do that. I do instead of like bonuses when you close a deal. I love if you're like, hey, if you do 40 hours instead of 30, I'll make all your hours worth 18 instead of 15. I like those kind of bonus structures, but that would be my biggest advice for those experienced investors looking to scale a team is really think about that payment structure.
Gotcha. Yeah, you would have to be a hell of a leader, like a Jesus or Moses type, if you're able to just have someone inspired for your calls that'll just work 3 to 6 months for you without really getting paid commission or anything. So it's cool to get creative. Like that pay structure that you're doing, it's almost like creative of how to leverage them into spending more of their time working for you, like the $15.
Now there is a Jesus in real life that I know that do that payment structure well. I thought I would give them a shout out. So Crystal and Dedrick Polite, and also TJ Russo in Seattle. The biggest difference is TJ and the Polites, they create a community with their drivers. So they have like 5 or 10 that they do pay on commission only. but they're either close relatives or they actually spend a lot of time to get to know those drivers and to teach them a lot about real estate investing along the way. But the biggest mistake is you just think, oh, I'm going to onboard a few hundred drivers and they're just going to keep adding properties for me. That's what most people make the mistake on. But yeah, like TJ, he has his own Facebook group just for his drivers. So, and they meet weekly. So it can be done. It's just, that does require a lot of effort for most investors. Like just sending the paycheck is going to be a lot more consistent and a lot more doable for them.
Yeah, that would be the majority of investors you think that are doing driving for dollars and using DealMachine would fall into the just send a check instead of building a community or a small tribe of drivers.
Yeah, the ones that are successful, they're paying hourly. It's actually less. It actually works out less oftentimes too, because if you're given $1,000 or a percentage every time you close a deal, it doesn't take $1,000, divided by 15 an hour to find one deal. They probably find more deals. If you just, you're going to pay less if you're paying hourly is the way it works out too.
Yeah. Has the quarantine and COVID times, I'm just kind of randomly wondering, has that affected your drivers and your clients at all?
Well, first people were scared to go out in their cars, but that's still quarantining. So it's fine. I think everyone was just unsure about the world for a month there, but it hasn't really affected it negatively beyond that.
Yeah. Similar to what I've heard as well.
I mean, it seems like everybody's really killing it. It seems like everybody in collective genius said, hey, save your money, sell your inventory. And I think a lot of people did. In the meantime, nothing's really slowed down. So maybe it's coming. I know real estate's a lagging market oftentimes. I haven't been around to have that history personally, but I'm waiting to see. And right now times are great.
Yeah, absolutely, man. There was that 1 month period of kind of just everybody on pause or kind of just seeing what's a little bit of a yellow light. And now I think we're kind of been going through green here, maybe like 5 miles under the normal speed limit, but we're still green rolling through.
Right.
Awesome, man. Well, you have some awesome data and just kind of analytics, I'm sure, on all the members using DealMachine. I want to talk really quickly about any statistics you would have, like how many deals you have to enter in DealMachine to find a property, just kind of some generalizations that folks can kind of, look at and compare to their own driving. And then we can talk about vision of DealMachine and new features and stuff.
Totally. Yeah. So for driving for dollars in the Midwest, 300 distressed properties. If you're in LA or a high price market, 1,000 plus, but it's worth it because you're going to make more money in those markets.
Love it.
Yeah. And then, main vision for DealMachine is right now, like the very best. A lot of investors use 8 different tools because the very best of each tool is its own separate company. A lot of the all-in-one products, they're typically only $99 a month. So you could tell there's no focus. They're just kind of checking boxes of, yes, we have that feature. Yes, we have that feature. So our goal at DealMachine is really to build individual products that operate like separate companies inside of the same exact app on your phone and on your computer, so that they do work seamlessly and so that they are the very best of each of those tools. That's our vision. And so we've done, a couple of engines, and we've got that basic version of the CRM to kind of tie everything together.
Love it, man. Yeah, the real estate game is definitely evolving a little bit. A lot of people are talking about more so creative opportunities maybe coming up, not just wholesaling, but it's cool that, both of us are just trying to get market research on what's needed most and then be that best tool. And that's something that we try to focus in as well. Just trying to focus on seller lead management, which starts with capturing the lead from a tool like DealMachine coming in through call rail, being pushed over directly, and helping you manage at least, for us, a minimum 6 to 7 touches. Absolutely. So try to put content out, man, just adding value to the community in addition to the product. And you're the same exact way. I know you got an amazing team over there. Josh and Elise I've met in person. Lindsay for coordinating this interview. She was very pleasant to work with getting this set up. I know that your time is super, super valuable.
Yeah, no, I'm so thankful you guys had me on, and It's great to see you. Are you coming to the next CG meeting, which is, I think, next week?
CG, no, we should be at the family reunion one though, which I think is in October.
Okay, we'll
I
definitely
think we
see
should
that.
be at that one. Yeah, absolutely, man. To cap this off, I want to hear a little bit about David Lecko himself. I know you're, getting into weightlifting, more so having like coaching and stuff like that. But what do you think has made you most successful just in your entrepreneurial journey? If you could end and leave some inspiration here for the listeners and something they could grab onto.
Yeah. So what's made me successful, I think, is like small incremental changes. When I started working out from nothing, like a week or a year ago, it was just like, hey, show up to the gym, a couple times a week and make it 30 minutes. And it just kind of incrementally kept getting better from there. And so I think that's like a repeating pattern in different areas of my life is like take the baby steps first, like quit talking about it, just do it. I'm definitely more of like action oriented than talking by nature. So I would definitely say that's been a huge aspect for me.
Mm-hmm. That's cool to see, man, because that was a year ago. I guess September, or I guess it was October, the last family reunion that we were hanging out at, I think. And that's right when you were that's right when we were talking about this stuff. And I know that we were having conversations I talk about probably every episode of how so much of your personal life overlaps with your business output that you're doing. And that small compound action that you take daily. Now you're a year later looking jacked. Don't have the bicep size as Brent Daniels just yet, but a few folks do. But definitely looking jacked in and healthy, positive, staying positive during the quarantine. I mean, that's something that I think everybody should be doing. Just trying to figure out like how they can see positives and opportunities during this time of being in home or working from home instead of being in the office and everything like that. So someone I definitely aspire to be like Mr. David Lecko, CEO and founder of DealMachine. Appreciate you being on here. We'll have in the show notes, guys, a sign-up link for DealMachine to check out. I think we have some type of, I think it's a 7 or 14-day trial with you guys. I'll check the link. I guess one last question for resources. Where are the best either YouTube videos or content that someone could check out as far as like best practices for driving for dollars? I know that Brent and Dedrick both have stuff. Max all have stuff, but if you have any type of concise resource, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I would go to the DealMachine YouTube channel.
Okay.
It's youtube.com/DealMachine.
Sweet. We'll definitely put that in the show notes for you guys. Elise on your team. Josh is awesome too. Does sales type stuff, but Elise is definitely made for CS, being a customer success person. I think whenever
absolutely.
Whenever she was like created, they're like, all right, we're gonna make her a customer success person of a SaaS company, a dominant SaaS company. So it's funny, you guys got an awesome team over there.
Thank you so much, dude. We are so thankful for Elise and Josh. I know they pass on their appreciation for you, and can't wait to see the final product.
Love it, man. Much appreciation and gratitude your way. Have a great day, guys, and check out DealMachine if you're not already on there. The best way to compile a list for the leanest price. So definitely check it out.
Thanks, Carlos. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, man.